All right, class, today we are going to learn about writing narratives for your performance task, the short story, write a short story. So we're going to begin. All right. Everyone likes a good story, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. But what is it that makes you want to keep reading? From the list, choose the qualities that keep you turning the pages. All right. So what makes a good story? I didn't read this title. So I want to read a story to, has anybody ever started a story and stopped reading it? Raise your hand if you've ever done. Oh, everybody. I have two. Usually it's an audiobook, and if I don't like it in the first 5 minutes, I'm out. All right? So what is it that story does that makes you want to read it? So go through the list of things and just pick a few that you think is true for you and not true. So talk about this at your table. What makes you want to read a story to the end? Pick the ones that are true and not true. Waterfall? 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 How many waterfalls should I have to say? Thank you. All right. Now I'm going to want you to give me a thumbs up. Actually, just raise your hand. If it's true for you, I'm going to check these off based on the majority of the class. So grabs my attention right away. Raise your hand if that is true for you. Oh, everybody. True for me, too. True story. Keeps me wondering about what's going to happen next. Oh, yeah. Are you guys, is anybody writing any of this down in their, okay. Because this is what makes a good story. This is kind of the secret sauce here. I'm giving you all the answers. It makes me care about the people or characters in it. Oh, for me, that's super true. I have to fall in love with the character. Not so many, though. Okay. Animals. Okay, so when you're writing your short story, animals move you. So maybe your short story needs to have some kind of an animal, like, breakthrough moment. So what, bless you, think about what moves you in stories and make sure you include that in your story, okay? Is relatively easy to follow. Is that important to you? Raise your hand. I want to see more hands, more people participating. Oh, yeah, there. It's true for you if it's easy to follow. If it's super confusing, makes no sense, I don't want to read it. That happens when I read a lot of writing. If it's not pretty clear, it doesn't engage me. It causes me to feel intense emotions. Who enjoys stories where you really feel something intense? Okay. A lot of you like the emotions. Helps me picture vivid scenes and events. I love that when you have a great picture in your mind and then you see the movie and it ruins it.
That's why I like reading books before I see the movie.
Yes, reading books before movies is good.
Movies are good because they help you picture what other people see.
Absolutely. Oh, waterfall. Makes me realize something about myself or others. Raise your hand if that is important to you. Okay. So it looks like I want you to write down at least 2 or 3 ideas that you're going to use to make a good story. Like something that came to your mind while we went through this little list. What makes a good story? Okay? So take a minute and write that down. Because I loved Kylie's idea. She said that it's only if it's animals is when she gets some strong feelings. So, maybe this is a time to start thinking about ideas for your story too while we're talking. Because things are going to pop in your mind. So maybe you have a separate little sheet for brainstorming for your story. Okay? All right. How do I go to the next screen? I just pushed this. Okay. What does a successful narrative look like? So what's narrative mean? Raise your hand if you know what talk at your table about what narrative means. All right, waterfall. What is a narrative, Zach? Real loud.
A narrative is like a narrator.
Could be a narrator. What else, Alex?
It's basically a story that uses a narrator to tell what's happening.
It could use a narrator. Now that's talking about point of view, which we are going to talk about, different points of view. So a narrator is in what point of view usually? Talk at your table about what point of view a narrator would be. All right, I heard a lot of third person. What does third person mean? Talk at your table now about what third person means. Okay, awesome. Questions about point of view, easy questions because we're going to get more into it. What's the other point of view you could probably use? There's two more you could use. Luke? First person, which means who's telling the story?
The person that's actually in it.
Yes, I. You are telling the story. I am telling my story. And then what's the other point of view you could possibly use, which is challenging but cool? Zach? Second, which means you use the word what? You. It's like a choose your own adventure kind of feel. Remember you guys ever read those? Those are fun. Okay. Take a look at Abigail Manson's short story. As we read it, we're all going to read it together. Use the questions and comments to examine the elements of her narrative. So, elements of her narrative means what? Natalie, what is elements of her narrative?
Like, if she's like, and then blah 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 happens to someone, like what she's gonna have happen to the characters.
Okay, so the characters. What else?
I'm talking about third person.
We could be talking about the characters, the point of view. What else would we talk about? Elements of a narrative.
So
No. We're just talking about the elements of a narrative.
in narrative, there's always like someone explaining the story, like is that if like someone's reading it.
Well, yeah, so that would be point of view. So you have characters, point of view, what other things are in a narrative? Aiden. Setting. Excellent. What else? Alex. Plot. Oh my gosh. What else?
The dialogue.
Dialogue. What else? Within the dialogue, what are we maybe looking for? Walker. Dialect. Excellent. What else? We have it up there. It's kind of a clue, something that we're looking to. Yeah, Natalie.
Breakthrough moment?
What's the breakthrough moment? What else do we call the breakthrough moment? The climax. All right, let's do it. Let's stop talking about it and do it. Let's read it all together, everybody. Okay? So if you need to move a little closer to the screen because you can't see it so well, feel free. You can just come up here and sit on the floor. Okay? Yeah, you can bring that too. That's okay. Get somewhere where you can see. I could definitely not see from where you are, Madison. I would move if I were you. I see you squinting. You should move, sister. Okay, ready? Crows by Abigail. We're all reading. Crows by Abigail Manson. Sirach was standing in the lunch line when he heard sarcastic laughing and loud voices. The laughter reminded him of the crows in his village back in Ethiopia. When he was little,
He
The new student from Thailand. Pravat looked like he was trying to take up as little space as possible. Zeke and Aaron, towering over him, barked out more of the fake laughter. Sirach's stomach felt sour.
You need to learn real English. Smiled and looked at Zeke and all the other kids nearby.
That's a good nickname for you. Sarek took 2 cartons of orange juice, but no food. He didn't feel hungry anymore, even though he dashed out of the house without eating. His friend George motioned to him from a table. When Sarek sat down, George said, "You look like you just ate something rotten." "Saw something rotten," Sarek said under his breath. He also felt rotten for not doing anything a few minutes ago, except to compare those 2 goons to noisy birds. And what good had that done to Pravat? "Hey," said George, "on the way here, Eva Beloit told me something weird. She found out that Tasha has been writing papers for a few guys all year. And now Eva has to decide if she's going to keep quiet about it or report it." Sirach shook his head. "Eva won't say anything. Most people don't have the guts. And besides, it's easier not to rock the boat." He saw Pravat sitting a few tables over. Zeke and Aaron, in their black shirts and black pants, were standing on either side of him. "Don't you think those guys look like gigantic crows?" Sarek said to George, motioning with his head. He studied Pravat closely. The guy appeared to be interested in only one thing only, eating the food on his tray. But Sarek knew better. He bet $20 that right now Pravat was eaten up with bitterness for having to be around people who didn't know a thing about his real home. Sarek stood up. He walked over to Pravat. The new student saw him and looked even more miserable. Sarek looked down at his clothes. His own shirt and jeans were black. "Come join us," he told Pravat and smiled. There was still a trace of misgiving on Pravat's face, but he must have thought the situation couldn't get any worse.